Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to the weekly WAYPN. Oh, good lord, I'm a little late on this one. Unfortunately, it seems that, yes, it is sad but true that the WAYPN is rather hard to load these days. But luckily for us, we've gotten through the first 500. So, let's begin. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we're starting off with Mad Golem stuff. And I have to say that it is very interesting, ladies and gentlemen. The thing that I particularly like about seeing stuff like this is seeing all of the weirdness that appears on WAYPN. So, taking a look at this, I saw all of this and I thought, oh man, isn't that fantastic? All of the rich colors and fantastical pieces. I really love this. I know that it's just a work in progress, but as I have said, ladies and gentlemen, why do we take a look at these works in progress? Because nothing starts finished. The thing is, ladies and gentlemen, this is how all projects start. Nothing starts out with all of the coats of paint on, all of the blocking done, and it all washed up. No, ladies and gentlemen, indeed, we all start out something like this. In fact, most of us less so. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, let us move on to the next one. So next up, we've got Panzer Kaput's Blood and Plunder boat. So he's been doing up these boats for a while, and see, one of the things that I find very hard to judge with these Blood and Plunder things is when you take a look at it, you know that it's a little difficult to judge because we're used to judging the more human-esque figures, the more the more humanoid figures. Taking a look at this, unless you know the historical context well, it's very hard to judge. But the thing that I look at in particular is now, of course, ladies and gentlemen, the Weekly WAYPN is not just a place where I blow smoke. It's also a place where I try and critique so that people can improve. And see, I think that there's only really one critique for this piece in particular, which is the sales. So I take a look at these sales and I just think that they're just too white. They're just too pristine when I take a look at them. Like when you take a look at the water down there that he's done up, which is beautiful. The thing is, like, you can see pristine water like that, but I somehow don't see a ship like this having just such beautiful, pristine sails. But I really love this rich decking and how there's some wear and tear on it, like you can see right here. I think that's just a beautiful, beautiful little touch to it. Just things like that is what really makes them. You know, I think that when you take a look at that, it's really what you want to see, ladies and gentlemen. Um, yeah, it's hard to describe. But the next thing that I particularly like is how he's got such rich colors with the outer hull of the thing. Take a look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Now, of course, this is a different ship right here, but those transitions of colors, you know, the way that it's done up. Now, I know that it is done up in a historical context, and that means that most probably he has not chosen a whole lot of his color scheme. But I still love seeing all of those colors on these things because when you see all of those colors on things, it just brings you into it. That's why I often find some of the historicals a bit more drab, shall we say, just because it's uh, it's a bit hard to get into when it is just those camouflage pieces. Even though so many of the people do beautiful, beautiful camouflage. Um, that's no problem, Taurus. We will we will see you for as long as we can see you, and feel free to comment on anything. This is an interactive show. Alright, so the other thing I like is just the little details, like the way that he's done up the gold and that. Oh, it's all just beautiful. Next up, we have Bucket Knight. Now, Bucket Knight's been working on these. I do believe these are from Infinity. I can't be 100% sure, but I do believe that these are Infinity pieces. And the only thing that frustrates me with Bucket Knight, well, of course, you know, there will be one thing, and we all know what it's going to be for me, that frustrates me a bit with it, is just give us a neutral background, Bucket Knight. Oh my God, just why? Why you do this to me? Alright, so I really love the clean blue-white, which is contrast against this green, right? And it's got some nice clashing colors, but it's very, very subtle. So if you take a look at the white itself, right, he's going through a very clean white. He's not going through the more rich white of, say, a bone or a cream color, right? He's going for the more neutral or more cold grey or blue white. And see, I think that that looks just absolutely beautiful the way that he's done that, because it gives such a rich contrast to the green. I do like the stripes that he's done. It's very clean, very nice, and it does help break up these mechs a bit. Uh, there's there's not a whole lot to say about the color scheme itself. I think that he's most probably not chosen this color scheme. Judging by the Infinity stuff, it seems that a lot of people just go for the standard sort of color schemes with those. But I do like the way that he's executed it. So, for example, the way that he's got these dusted up, you know, got a bit of weathering on them, and I think that looks particularly nice. You know, the other thing I take a look at when I take a look at these guys is I think that they look very Tau-esque. Am I the only person who's picking up on that vibe? But yeah, so just beautiful, beautiful weathering, right? And it's got such a great clash against the very clean and pristine paint job, right? It seems like these came out as perfect factory assembled robots, and then after that, you know, they were just sort of left in use in perpetuity, and people don't really care about fixing them up. They only care, are they functional? So I think that that gives a great level of, you know, theme to this army. Uh, but of course, ladies and gentlemen, we know that the one piece that I'm always going to have trouble with, the basing, man. So I think on some of these, he does have three elements with the basing. So, for example, right here, we've got the broken up larger gravel, and then we've got the stones back here. But for the most part, right, it's just all of this plain gravel. I think all it wants is just some tufts of grass, right? Just, you know, your standard old, you know, straw tufts of grass. Just slap some of those onto it and just, mwah, beautiful. But I think at the moment it is just way too plain as things go, because when you take a look at these guys, right, it is great that those things are the central focus, but it would be fantastic if they had some contrast on the ground. Unfortunately, as things stand, they're against a very, very neutral background, which can be fine, but I think we want these miniatures to pop a bit more. Hey, Lornor. Yeah, something to break up the brown grey of the base would be great. It's too clean, yeah. That is a much more concise way of saying what I'm saying. Alright, so I want to say, you know, really, really nice job. It is, yeah, okay. I was like, it is Bucket Knight, right? Alright. Alright. No problems, Taurus, for doing the show. Alright. And thank you also, Richard Build. And next up, we've got Next up, we've got the Richard builds. Hopefully, let's cross our fingers. Richard builds Armies on Parade project. Now we can't force it. We totally can. But hopefully, Richard builds is going to enter his stuff on Armies on Parade, and you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if the first time he enters, he claims the top spot, because honestly, we've all seen his stuff before, and how beautiful does it always turn out? Like, take a look at this. This hasn't even got a coat of paint on it yet, ladies and gentlemen, and how gorgeous does it look? It's just beautiful, and we can see him really putting some work in. I do believe we see some more work on these later on in the thread. No problem, Wild Chevy. I'll hope to see you on here. Yeah, I also wonder that, Taurus. He's most probably glued to the television, judging by your guys' weather. Glued there and desperately hoping for a change in weather. Alright, so next up we've got Irish Steve, and big congratulations on getting the Community Button Award. So, taking a look at this, there is a lot to love about this piece. So first off, let's talk about what is really the feature of the model. Now, it doesn't look like the feature, but it definitely is. This little icon right here, just a beautiful little piece that he's done up. Just, it looks gorgeous the way that he's done it up. You know, very subtle. It's not overpowering, but it gives this whole Egyptian-esque feel to the weapon, right? And it just really helps bring in the theme of this particular model. You know, with the little rat skull, all of that sort of thing. You know, she's trying to evoke these themes of old. You know, she is trying to exude power, and see, all of those little details just bring such a rich character life to these models. Like, you've got that right there contrasted against the dust across her what would you call that? Cloth? Well, it's not a cod piece, which is the first thing that came to mind. Loincloth. Across her loincloth. So the dirt that's brushed up onto the loincloth, contrasted with that, it gives just such an evocative feel. But onto the actual feature of the model, which is this beautiful hair, right? The blue going into the white, it's utterly gorgeous, and because of how bright it is, it draws your eye in, and that's what you want. You want the eye to be drawn into the model. Now, we've got some lovely bits of edging and layering on the back right, but it is really, for me, mostly to do with that bit up the front. Just these subtle little indicators. Now, of course, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not just here to blow smoke, as I said. So I'm going to try and take a look at this and see if there is anything that I think that he could do to try and improve things. And for me, right now, it is really hard, and I am definitely searching. I think the only thing that he could really do is, for example, brighten the copper and the verdigris within the base, give a bit more color contrast. It is very difficult when you get to that level of painter. But yeah, so it is a beautiful job, but just remember, ladies and gentlemen, despite this absolutely gorgeous piece appearing, you know that there is hours upon hours of work behind this model. Alright, next up, we've got wrinkled tiltskin. So a little bit of a pun on Rumpelstiltskin, I do believe. But I'm just going to go back up while those images are loading from him and just say Taurus's comment. Irish Steve has painted great model, though I'm getting Mini Valley flashbacks. Oh, is that the sort of Madonna-esque model from back in the day of Necromunda? I do not know. Alright, so for some... Oh, good lord, no. What? No, please... What are you doing, website? Why do this? Why you do this? Alright, so... I don't know why these came out as tiny people over on this one. Alright, so we have a lot of beautiful models here. Very, very beautifully painted. Alright, so first off, one of the things that none of you is going to be surprised about, but I want to talk about the basing for just a second. Now, this isn't something that I often talk about. Oh, okay, fair enough, Taurus. Is the rim of the base and how he's done it in a brass, right? That is beautiful. Now I see a lot of people do them up in browns, and I'm not usually impressed with adding a color to these rims. Usually I like it pure black to sort of go, you know, here is the frame around the piece, right? But when I see this, right, it just really helps integrate the base with the game miniature aspect. Alright, so first off, I love these aquamarines. They've got such a great contrast against this copper and the verdigris. You know, like, see, it's almost as if they complement each other with the verdigris down there, right? And it is a particularly interesting sculpt right there. The other thing I want to say is, right, take a look at these eyes, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see if we can zoom in. Okay, that's us zooming in. The thing is, eyes are so hard to do, and makeup even more so, ladies and gentlemen. So the fact that he's done both on this, I think, is just superb. I do think you might want to bring it quite a bit back with the blush, but like that is very, very advanced stuff, man. So don't ever feel disheartened about that. I'm just trying to say that if you want to improve in the future, and it looks like you're trying for the top tier of painting, I think that's where you can find improvement. I do really like the way that he's done up the brown hair, but speaking of hair, I think that we've got some beautiful grey hair in the beard here and on the hair over here. Just absolutely magnificent. Also, some great color contrast with these other two pieces, right? So we don't have the color contrast with the base here, right? So we see that her base, right, has a whole lot of matching stuff. You know, it's a lot of brass, and then we've got a little bits of verdigris to match the model here, right? But with this, we've got a whole lot of different pieces because the color contrast is on the model itself, less than, you know, the base. So we've got the red handkerchief scarf. What are these called? Things called ascot. Ascot. I think that's it. The red ascot against the deep marine blue, right? And this little coppery pin. Hey, Richard Builds, how we doing? So all of that is just just absolutely beautiful. Um, the other thing is, taking a look one over, right? We've got that same level of color contrast, right? But then we've got this complementary piece in the middle. Now he can choose any color he wants for the gemstone, right? Um, I think it would have been really great if he had have gone for like a really deep, rich red here, like this, to help with that contrast. But it's interesting that he went for a purple because the purple isn't going to have cravat is the red thing. So yeah, I don't know the difference between an ascot or a cravat or any of them. No, I'm not fabulous. So my fashion sense is somewhat dim. So yeah, it's very interesting because the purple doesn't clash against the aquamarine as much, which is a very interesting choice. Alright, and finally we've got his last piece here, right? And now, these guys out the back are pretty out of focus, but it does bring me to one thing that I want to talk about for just a second. The white that he does up, right? The white that is in focus. Oh my god. Mwah. Absolutely gorgeous. Like, take a look at it. There's a lot more of it back here. It's a little out of focus, right? I'm not as impressed on the sash, right? But with the clothing, oh, utterly gorgeous, right? I think that he's done really well with this model because I think that he has fought the model a lot on this one. So if you take a look at the other models around, right? Now he's like done up a beautiful, beautiful eye with this girl here, right? But if you take a look at the eye in this guy, of course, the zoom is absolutely magnificent on that. It seems that he's more painted the whole eye in. There's no sort of area for doing the eye, no bump ridge, no nothing like that. So I think that he's painted the whole eye in here, which is particularly impressive. Now, yeah, I think that there's a lot to love with these ones as well. The way that he's done up the various metals and the different colors, and the way that he's done up these very harsh edges on the black suit with the robot in the back. I think that that really helps bring that model together. So yeah, I think that all of this stuff looks absolutely gorgeous, and I'm just going to leave it on this for a minute while I take a swig because I think I've been talking for a solid 23 minutes without a break. So let us move on, and we will soon be on to the next piece. No? Alright. Next up, we've got Davith! And he's started painting this guy up. I think we actually get to see him finished at the very end of this. And it is a beautiful, beautiful piece to finish up. And I think that it looks absolutely gorgeous the way that he's doing it up. I know it is just a classic color scheme, but oh, it is so much fun, that piece. I'm just gonna go back for just a second because we've got a few comments. I always find Vigello deck tan works better for a white than a pure white. Yeah, never start with the pure white. So when you took a look at that Escher model, that went into pure white, and when you take a photo of pure white, it sort of has that glowing effect because it's so pure. Like even the GW base spray of white isn't a pure white. Um, like you can paint white scar onto a model which has been, based in white, and you will see the difference. All right. Sorry. Lawnor says, I like the Walsung model designs, but the sculpts often don't seem to be as good. I look forward to seeing how they develop in the future. Yeah, I think that was particularly in reference to this guy here. Like, we have some beautiful designs of the models, but some of the times I think that the execution isn't quite as stellar. So I'm just going to quickly move on from David's stuff because while I do love looking at works in progress, we do actually get to see these ones all finished up. And see, talking about pure colors, dealing in pure black is just as hard as dealing in pure white. So just remember that, ladies and gentlemen. All right, next up, and I want to say another bit of congratulations. Congrats to Noijiat, to his absolutely beautiful, beautiful piece, getting a community button because I think that it is well deserved. So hopefully we will see some more from Nojiat in the future. All right, so there is a lot to love about this model. So first off, his choice of colors, excellent, just beautiful. So what is this? Gambison. So he's got some Gambison armor that he's wearing, right? Which is a sort of padded armor, and the thing is, making it blue contrasts beautifully against the orcish green skin, right? Now, of course, he's done just beautiful, beautiful stuff with this green skin right here. Like, you can see it a lot more in the face, but take a look at just this exposed shoulder piece, right? And just that work there, right? Ah, it's utterly gorgeous. And remember, because of how we focus in on skin. We focus in on the humanoid aspects. Objects, we're going to, have a less visceral connection to. So if you're going to spend time somewhere, spend time on skin. Clothing is another big thing for us too, but skin, faces, hands. Um, so that looks absolutely beautiful, right? The other thing is, now, we all know how he got me on side from the start, ladies and gentlemen. First off, the gorgeous background, but second of all, look at this basing. Oh, isn't it gorgeous? Just the subtlety of these little blue flowers complementing his dress here. Oh, utterly gorgeous. I do like the way that he's done up the steel, but I don't think it's particularly a feature. I think that the leather looks nice, but I don't think it's a feature. I think the feature is the skin work, which is just beautiful. I think if he was to work on anything, I'd say it'd be the scratches within the sword, and the marks on the armor. But other than that, I think that he's pretty good with this one. Like, there is a reason he got a community button for it. But guys, I absolutely love seeing stuff like this. It is so gorgeous. And see, the thing is that when people see something like this, they get a feel for the evocativeness of this game. Or, well, not any game in particular, but the ideas behind the hobby, right? That it's not just playing with toy soldiers, right? That there is this whole, hobbyist aspect behind it. And as far as, pastimes of note, I think that this one is one of the more harmless ones. Alright, so I'm just going to do a quick bit of reading because this is going to come up later in my article. I wasn't going to bring this up before, but I feel it can be important because Calador's brought it up in the weekly WAYPN. A bit of backstory info. It's taking the train to work now is with two other people. One was a friend, one who's into the hobby, one who's a lady friend who is not as into the hobby. She does board gaming, and basically he said that he was busy because he had painting to do. whereas she had a group of friends to keep up with, and she said that he can't be busy because he chooses to do this. But, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think that's quite the case. We all choose what we do with our time. So I'll speak a little bit more about that in the future when I get to the article part. All right. Next up, we've got some more work from David, and yes, it would be fantastic if you put some stuff on that face. Didn't make me lose my damn mind. All right. We will see you later, Taurus. You have a great day, my man. All right. So, next up, we will. Sorry, I got a bit off track. Wishing Taurus goodbye. Sorry, chokes me up a bit that he's leaving. All right. So, we see a bit more works in progress here. I do like the choice of gemstone effects for the eyes. I think that really helps bring them out. But we do see a bit of overflow here, so hopefully we will see that all finished up soon enough. I do believe we get some more shots of it soon. I do believe so. I think so. I'm just gonna have a little check. So okay, so this. No, I'm certain that we see more of this guy. You know what? You know what? I'm just gonna rush to the end, and I'm gonna see, because I am certain, ladies and gentlemen, that we see more of this lovely lad. I'm certain. I'm absolutely positively certain that we see this lad again. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Yeah, no, it is. It is completely different, lads. I was wrong. It does happen. Ah, no, Lornor. Ever loyal Lornor. You have my back, lad. But yeah, so we do see some more on him. All right, so I will quickly make our way back. Oh God, isn't there some gorgeous stuff up this week, and some very interesting stuff too. All right, so I'm not going to give too much of commentary on him because we're going to see him all finished up soon enough. But yeah, I'm really going to enjoy commenting on him because there is a lot to love. First off, I love the way that he's done up the icon there. It's so clean and smooth. Like here, I'll take a look at it at the side here. I don't just want to give that comment there. Look at that, right? Just pure, just beautiful. And the way that he's done the helmet, mwah, gorgeous, gorgeous, darling, gorgeous. All right. So next up, we've got Lorn Orr, and he has finished off the Elderhorn. So I think that it is looking once again gorgeous, darling, gorgeous. So I take a look at the wood, and that is the one thing that I think that Lorn Orr could improve upon by putting like just some stripes of different color in. I think that is about it as far as improvement goes. The wood looks absolutely beautiful, but like I said, ladies and gentlemen, I try not to just blow smoke. We try and give, critique here as well. I think that is about it, and a bit on the horns, which I'll talk about in a second. But just the way that that's even come together is beautiful. I love the contrast between the string that's holding these pieces on and the wood itself. The leathers come together just absolutely beautifully, and of course the beard. But I'll just give the one other bit of critique out of the way before I can move on. So the thing is, right here with the horns, I feel that there was a bit of a missed opportunity for color contrast in here. So I do believe that these are, runes of power. So, have them glowing with an energy, particularly a blue energy, would contrast beautifully against this, green and gold. I know it's a thematic choice, but I just feel that it's a missed opportunity there. Now, you know, that is a choice, but that's the only other thing. But okay, there is a lot to love on this model. So first off, take a look at the way that he's done this subtle color variation on the face, right? Beautiful. Um, that is just gorgeous. I love the beard here, right? And also, I think the way that he's done up the scars, particularly considering that it's a non-human color scheme, right? So he's just sort of got to go, yeah, well, I hope it looks alright. And just go for gold, more or less. He's just got to have a go at it. He doesn't know how it's going to turn out. I think that is particularly impressive. Um, I do really like the way that the shadings happen with the cloth. The little, I think these are stone tablets attached. I think that's like it looks fine. It's not nearly as impressive as the rest of the stuff, but I think that has more to do with the sculptor's choice than his choice. He's got to do it in a stone. So yeah. Um, but because that is another area where you could have that color contrast between this, gorgeous green right here and down here. Now, I love the richness of the gold and how it just has such a stark contrast against everything else because it really, really brings in, the eye. Because you're taking a look at that, right? And we take a look at the front, right? And it looks really good, especially from close up. But this is how you're going to be looking at the model for the majority of the game. 3 feet away, and you're going to be looking at this, right? The back of the model, because that's how you play. You see it from behind, right? So I think that's just absolutely beautiful. Now I'm just going to read out a couple of Lorna's comments. I've had a look and that might have been the finished marine after all. Oh no! Alright, well I will go back up and I will comment on it. I was considering glowing the runes green, but it wasn't on the studio art, but I was very tempted. Yep, those are stones. I need a better recipe for stone paint. I don't think that it's anything to do with you with the stones. I think the only way that you could have done it is by doing like maybe say a limestone, a more yellow stone, right, to contrast against the green, but that is not the theme of these models. So I don't think that there's anything up with that. I just think that if they're going to add something like that, I think maybe those little straps being gold instead of being leather, but see that's going against the theme as well, right? I mean, it's hard when you're choosing between theme and good painting or great contrast. So I'm just going to go back up and I'm going to talk on David's piece for a bit because apparently there are no more pictures. None. Alright, so first off, David. David must doeth the baseth, otherwise I will loseth my mind. But other than that, there is a lot to love about this model. So this angle in particular is really good for it, but this right here, just needs a quick bit of cleanup, and as soon as that's done, I think it's perfect. So I really love the way that you've done this stripe. It looks so clean. But the other thing is the gloss black of the piping here, just beautiful, right? And how that black contrasts against this matte black here, perfect, just perfect, right? That is how you want to have contrast, ladies and gentlemen. I think that looks absolutely gorgeous the way that he's done that up. I really do like the use of the gemstone effect to give this more sort of dull red menacing eye than, you know, the sort of bright shining eyes that people sometimes do for them, because I just feel that it looks more evocative with this particular model. I think that all of this looks good, but I do think that you really could have done some butane marks on the plasma bit there, since you're going all out with everything else. Um, and we've got some lovely bits of edging in there, despite the fact that you will hardly ever see that. Do we get a picture where we see the scope? We may or we may not. I'll see if we get a picture where we see the scope. I think, if anything, the only thing that I'd really want to improve is have like a bright blue or a bright red with this scope. I do believe it's a red, you know, judging by the little that we can see of it, but just to have that level of contrast again, because all of this, right, it's very dull and deep, you know, cool colors. So having a really fierce, bright color would help contrast against all of that. But yeah, just it is really beautiful the way that he has done this piece up. Other than this base that isn't driving me mad at all, not at all. He's done really, really beautiful work. I think this shot right here, if you can get that with the neutral background, that'd be perfect, man. Like, cause that to me is the sort of iconic picture of the Marine. All right, next up, we have some more works in progress from Lorna. And as always, we love seeing the works in progress. And why do we love seeing works in progress? Because, ladies and gentlemen, nothing starts finished. Alrighty then. So, next up, we have Maldrak, and we have some very interesting pieces. So, this is actually the least interesting piece on this particular post. So, apparently he finger painted this last year. I didn't exactly know what he meant at the start, so I think it's come together nicely. I really like the way that the wings have come together, and I think that, you know, having all of this level of contrast within the wings, you know, having that not uniform look looks great. I do think that, you know, it's a bit too uniform in the center. You know, you need to have a bit of color, a bit of contrast. I like the teeth, I like the eyes, but of course, this basing has come together just gorgeously. But then he puts this up, and I'm like, okay, I see hand, I see fingers, and then he does this, and I'm like, oh, I get it, and see, like, I take a look at this, and as somebody who paints Tyranids, I just think to myself, how amazing is that idea? Right? That is a completely new way that you could paint, right? A completely new way that you could paint up Tyranids. Just think about doing that on the carapace all the time. And, like, it comes together quite nicely. I do think that some of it's overly bold. Like, so, for example, I most probably would have chosen to do the teeth up in a bone rather than a gold. It's most probably, you know, thematic to the monster itself, but the thing is just having those those colors there, I'd really want to change it up to not contrast against the feet. It just seems wrong. I guess it does have this really nice contrast there, but I don't know. It just seems off to me. Um, that may be the point of the piece, though, to be fair. But I also like how he sort of threw a gemstone paint over this, or whatever it was that he added to that, to give that extra level of contrast. I think that it's come together just beautifully. You know, just an absolutely lovely piece and such an interesting way of painting, right? I think that seeing stuff like this really gives you an appreciation for what you can do within the medium. Like, when, and if you weren't open to such things, I think that you could very much easily dismiss such a technique. If somebody just went, yeah, no, I'm going to do some finger painting on my models, you'd be like, okay, Muppets Phil, you do that. But seeing this, seeing that all done up, you know, I think that's come together just beautifully. I would like to see a bit more on this base, but other than that, I think that it's come together so well. I love the color contrast between the green and the yellow, and the green and the blue, and of course this is a blue there, right, and the yellow and the blue. It's just beautiful. Alright, so next up we've got George Seeley, and seeing these models made me lose my mind. I took a look at these, man, and I saw them, and I'm like, oh my god, why did I not support this Kickstarter? I thought about it, I was looking at it, oh my god, they look gorgeous. Take a look at them, ladies and gentlemen. Tell me, are these not the Sisters of Battle that we actually want? Oh my good lord, look at these flowing robes. And he's already started on the basing. Oh, George Seeley. Oh, I love you. Alright, but yeah, just, so this right here was a bit much for me, but I mean, take a look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, utterly gorgeous sculpts. Just the most gorgeous sculpts you've ever seen. That is easily GW level quality, and sometimes beyond GW level quality. And it is, you know, not over the top. Now, I don't know if this is, I don't think that this is a finished model right here. I think he's just starting out, right, getting his color scheme down pat. But I really, really love what he's doing right now. But of course, since he's starting out, I want to give him a bit of feedback. So, with these golds, I think they're a bit too bright. I think if you want to bring them back into, say, a Balthazar gold, a more brassy bronze gold, I think that that would be better for the level of contrast, because they sort of disappear into the white here. Doing up white is a very, very bold choice. I think that that's a really good idea. But I think if you want to really have something that draws the eye, maybe do a different interior color to the exterior of her, right? So we've got this great contrast here, right? The white against the blue, and I don't think the whites come up perfectly, but white is just such a monster to do. So, you know, don't don't think I'm having a go at, because like it is such a monster to do. All right, but then just having this maybe like a red or a purple or just some other color, you know, that would really help things. And just an important comment as to this picture right here, and this is why works in progress are so important, people, because people get an idea of how you do things, right? So Lawnor says you should always have a plan for basing before you finish assembly. I don't get how people can paint the model on the base before you can make that decision. How can you integrate the two otherwise? So I think a lot of the times people paint on the base lawnmower, mainly because they don't want to be holding the model, and that's their biggest thing. And it's the way that everyone does it, so they do it that way. All right, so yeah, just absolutely gorgeous work. And take a look at that basing, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, it is gorgeous. But once again, just with that gold, these could be non-metallic metals, but I don't think so on the gold. I don't think so. Maybe, I don't know. But I would most probably bring down this gold as well, because it's sort of it's consumed by the brightness of the sword. So, just for that extra level of contrast. But yeah, I think just, man, you're really making me jelly. So in regards to basing, Lorna says, I agree with that, but design your base first. Build it up. Allow space under your feet for sand or whatever. Yeah, for sure. Don't like have your guys like half knee deep in mud when you're basing them, because a lot of the times you see like the feet are sort of consumed by they're sort of consumed by the base itself. All right, so next up we've got brushstroke, and ladies and gentlemen, this is why it is important to see works in progress. Because imagine if you never saw this before this moment. If you never knew the level of effort that went into this model. This model is utterly gorgeous, ladies and gentlemen. It is just pure beauty. Taking a look at it, there is just so much to love about it. First off, the gold is beautiful, right? But that's obvious. There's a lot of more subtle pieces here, right? Take a look at the skin work. Beautiful. The eyes, right? Now, I'm not a fan of the rich red beards, but that's very much a theme within Dwarven lore. So I think like that's very much a choice there. But there is just so much. Take a look at the way that this fur is done up, right? The inner ear, right? Around the mouth. Little marks across the face, right? The way that the fur comes back on the model. That's paint. That's not sculpt. This is sculpt with paint on. That is paint. The way that there's these subtle color transitions within the male, right? That's chainmail, not you've got mail. And take a look at this tartan and the way that the color shifts within the tartan because the shadows and such. That is utterly beautiful. Absolutely, utterly beautiful. And of course, taking a look at this basing, ladies and gentlemen, it is gorgeous. Like, see, right here, the snow, the way that it's built up is quite natural. Just a tuffet of grass, right? Just a little bit of ruins here, right? Not overdone. There's a skull there, right? But it could just as easily fade into the background if you're not noticing, right? It just looks naturalistic. This gorgeous cloth, right? I really like the black fur, but that's where one of my critiques will be in just a minute. But there is so much to love about this model. Alright, so, now the thing is, why do I give critiques of models like this when some people come along and go, oh, I'll never be able to reach that level of model. You can't even paint like that, Calidors. Why are you giving it? Because people want to grow. We do love this model, but we also want brushstrokes to get even better, because it's always possible to get better. As Da Vinci said, art is never finished, only abandoned. So right here, we see this black, right, and he's gone within the greys, right, to bring it up, and it looks really good. But if he went very, very, very deep blue, and then brought it up within the greys, it would have this subtle, unconscious contrast with this, and that would just be beautiful, right? Now, I don't know about the fierce orange of the beard. That could just as easily be the fact that I don't see this color of hair ever. But that was the only thing which I took a look at and sort of put me off. But yeah, so those are my 2 bits of critique. But we all know this is just the most beautiful model that we have seen in a while, and he's done amazing work. So congrats on that brushstroke. But yeah, even at your level, there is the possibility to give critique, and I want to give it because I want these people to get even better. Alright, next up we've got Martin45, and good lord, take a look at this beastie. Oh, alright, so first off, take a look at this axe right here. Now there's this whole beautiful model over here, right, but take a look at this axe, right, and the subtle work that he's done on here to make it not just a block of steel. It would be so easy to neglect that right here with all of this going on over there. It would be so easy to neglect that. But just take a look at the subtle work that he's done on that to really bring it up and out. Now, of course, there's these subtle skin transitions up here on the face, which are beautiful. The beautiful contrast of, you know, this brass here against all of this dull skin, right? So just this contrast between bright and, you know, dull. Beautiful. And the way that the furs come together, good lord. But take a look at this mace here. Just the way that stuff is flicking off and that, right? Ah, beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. The only thing wrong with this model is this is the only angle we have. But I really, really have to say, I really appreciate it, man, for bringing this white back here. So with that, man, it really, really does help. You know, because taking a look at this with a neutral background, it makes it much easier to see these little features like that, those little things. And just even take a look at the way that the veins are popping out and the differentiation in color on that. The works with the scars. Ah, oh, there is so much work on this, man. But Martin45, please repost this with more pictures from different angles, man, because this is a beautiful piece, and he's only currently working on it. It's not even finished. Oh my god. Oh, but yeah. So I think, Lorna, that's the reason why some people paint in this way, just because they don't want to be holding the model itself, so they just sort of put it on the base beforehand because they want to, that's the way it's always been done for them. And it obviously works for some people because I think it's come together beautifully. But I that's kind of the point I was trying to get at. Next up, we've got Sodonus Paulinus, commonly known as an Andy. And we have, is this Pax Imperiana? I know that that's all Roman gobbledygook up the top, but there is a lot to love on this model. Alright, so as always, Andy makes some beautiful shields. Just utterly gorgeous shields, ladies and gentlemen. The thing is, when you take a look at this, right, there's a lot to love about that. The subtle splatter of blood, right? It's not overt, it's not over the top. This isn't 40k, it's historical, right? Now, I do love over the topness, right? But it's got to fit within the model, right? So, there's that. But the way that the dust kicks up, this pattern on the cape that he's done up, and the way that he sort of subtly suggested it without doing a tremendous amount of work on it, just little things like that. That is why I love Andy's work. It is just so gorgeous. Also, this is more the sort of orange that I am more familiar with when it comes to beards and that sort of thing. But it can blend into the face a bit, as it does here, and I guess maybe that's why he chose that. But I think that this has come together beautifully. As for improvements, quick dry brush of like a light color along there to bring all those feathers up. I think that would just be just a couple of flicks and help bring up the model a lot. I think that would improve things tremendously. Alright, next up, we have a hell of a lot of feedback from Oriskany. Thank you very much for that, Oriskany. Feedback is what feeds these forums. Back in my heydays, yes, Panzer Kaput just says that Gaul warrior is amazing, and I love the Celtic warrior. I'm sure that the Celtic warrior is coming up. But one of the things I studied was online communication, and the thing is that people don't care about what is posted. They care about the responses to the post. So people will put stuff up and they just hope to get that feedback. And that gives a bit of a dopamine hit, and like, though it can have very negative consequences sometimes, I think stuff like this really helps people. You know, seeing that time and effort that you put into your hobby coming back and somebody just going, that bit, I love that bit, and people knowing the level of effort that you put into your work and saying something really does help. Alright, so next up we've got Naked Gore Warrior. No. I'll be unable to monetize my unmonetizable works. Oh dear. But yeah. So, once again, the shield has come up absolutely beautifully. So the way that he's done up the dust along here, right? And you know, see, the thing is, I know that some of this pattern stuff is transfers, right? But when you take a look at it, it looks completely integrated. The first time I saw this stuff, I thought that, you know, I thought that Andy had painted this stuff. And the reason that I thought that is because of how well integrated it is. Most people can't do transfers well. The thing is that when you do stuff like this, and when you bring it in right, that breathes life into the transfer. Because transferring is a skill, ladies and gentlemen. Don't ever think that it's not. Alright, also absolutely beautiful work with the tattoos. I also love his, you know, he's doing his standard very high contrast skin, right? and I will spend as little time on it as possible, but I do think that the crotch is done very well. You know, we've got some subtle highlights there, and then one particularly intense highlight to just to just let you know, to just let you know it's there. You know, just in case you didn't notice. And Panzer Kaput, I assume that you're saying that's so right with the feedback thing, and yes, the warrior model is amazing. The patterns really bring it to life. So yeah, and I do like the basing here. I do think that it looks good. I like the hair, but there's sort of this one big tide mark along here, and I think if you can clean that up, you know, you see this tide mark here. I think if you clean that up, it'll look a lot better. All right. So next up, we have Oriskany with some more feedback, and oh yeah, yeah, and Panzer Kaput said that it was about the feedback. I think we're gonna have to put a note not safe for work. But I mean, like, I think unless people are really looking for it, no, it is really really glowing. You know, let's just move on. All right, next up we've got Oriskany and exactly 1 million tanks. So, of course, Oriskany gives the whole backstory of these things right here, and when I read stuff like this is why a lot of the times when I go into historicals, you just see me nodding my head, going, uh-huh, okay, uh-huh, okay, but he's done some absolutely beautiful work with these. So I really do like this particular camouflage pattern. Platen. Jesus, what's happening with me? So with this particular camouflage pattern, I do think that it looks really nice. But the big thing is for me is the edging, right? The edging looks absolutely beautiful, right? Now, I think you might do it by dry brush, judging by the sort of non-consistency of it. You know, it's got different tones along, but I don't mind that. I think that that looks good. See, that really helps bring these things to life, because a lot of the times when I look at these camouflage things, right, if it wasn't for that strong edging, right, these would be blobs. They would just be complete blobs of tanks, right? And you wouldn't really see the level of effort that goes into them, you know, because it does really take work to do up some nice proper camouflage. I think once you've got the patterning down pat and you can do the spray and all that, I think that you're good. But I mean, you have to get to that point, right? And there's also some subtle things like the way that he's done the soot marks along the tank barrels, but how that soot mark sort of blends into the tank itself, right? So once again, you know, the whole thing is not to just blow smoke. It's also to give some feedback. I think the only things I can give is really these tank treads here. Now, I'm not 100% certain, so I think that a lot of the time these do have a more dull look, but I think you could go with, like, say a not half gloss, but maybe 75 25 gloss wash, like say the GW black gloss wash, 25% the gloss wash, 75% standard wash, and put those over them. I think that that would help give some contrast there. But other than that, I think that they look really good. The only other thing I think is this right here. So unlike Andy's, right? So it's not as easy to notice, but you can see the transfer marks. Now, I'm not going to give people a hard time about transfers. I don't use transfers at all. I would prefer to paint these numbers on than use transfers. I hate using transfers. It's just not one of my particular skills. So I'm not going to give him a hard time about, like, I don't know how you can, make those little marks go away. But I do know that it is possible. I don't know how though. I don't know how. But those are the bits of feedback to try and help you improve those. But yeah, man, keep up that edging. That edging is absolutely beautiful. And I think without it, I would just be looking at a blob of, just camouflage tanks, and I'd be like, tanks. But yeah, so I think that these are just absolutely gorgeous, man. Alright, so I just wanted to have a quick note on this because I talked about what Calator's 2 said before, right? Matte varnish. Okay, so apparently Panzer Kaput tells me that matte varnish is the thing that will help those marks go away. But yeah. Also, I think a wash on your commander here because he's looking a little bit furry Muppetish. But yeah, I do think, like, other than that, they look really, really good. And see, you can just make it out from this distance. And see, I think if you couldn't make it out from that distance, you'd be fine. But, like, yeah, that's just the thing. And, like, don't think I'm giving you a hard time, man, because they're beautiful tanks. But we can always improve, just like I was saying with Frustrated. So, what I was saying before about Calidor's 2 comment, right? You need to have pride in your work, right? The reason you need to have pride in your work, right, is because if you don't have pride in your work, other people will diminish your work. You need to have a certain protective layer of ego about yourself. If you don't have that, you will let other people stomp on you, right? So the thing is, it's not when somebody, says something outside of your circle that hurts you, right? It's never really that. You can always brush aside the comments of the outsider, right? It's the insider which hurts you because, the thing is, when we were talking about this, right? The thing is, we never want to feel ostracized, and I think that's the biggest risk with our hobby, is being ostracized. But the thing is, right, with certain games, with certain things, you can have this feeling that this isn't good, that's bad. I don't think this community is good, and you'd be spot on, right? But painting in of itself, that takes talent. So don't ever take a look at painting and just go, oh man, I don't want to be embarrassed by this hobby. You're making art, ladies and gentlemen. Whether you think so or not, you're making art. Taking a look at, yeah, okay, so taking a look at something like this, right? Just know you're making art. Look at these. These are beautiful. Somebody may come along and they may dismiss the idea of these particular pieces, right? But they cannot dismiss the effort that goes into them. They cannot dismiss how good they look. Alright, so that's my little rant from the article. So yeah, just have some pride in your own abilities, ladies and gentlemen, even if you haven't made it yet, even if you're not there yet, even if you're still just struggling to get there. Okay, so um, he's just added some decals and some scripting on them, right? I do think that really helps integrate these things. And that's what I'm talking about with decal work, right? Just like how Andy does it, right? Integration is the biggest thing with decals. Bringing it into the model, I think, is the biggest thing. Um, but he's also done a little bit more work on the base. I don't think he mentioned it, but see how that's been brightened up to the a blue. I think that looks really good. Gives some great contrast against the model. You know, just like the tips of the blue there. I think that looks really good. But yeah, I really do like that. Next up, we've got Brain Fowler and some of the Escher ladies from Necromunda. So, taking a look at these ladies, right? I take a look at a lot of these, right, and I think these look good, but one thing that they need, just one thing, is just hit these with a wash, and they will come up beautifully, my man. So we see a lot of work here, right? Just a lot of work. Hey, Calidors too. Um, we just, I think you just missed out on my rant about your comment earlier. Um, but not in a bad way. No, I was just talking about the article thing that I put up. All right. So taking a look at these, right? Just like you have done a bit of work in with each of these, right? But just maybe a watered down wash for some of the cloth, right? And just the hair in particular. I take a look at the hair, and that's the biggest thing. Like I love the difference of color in here, man. But just a wash would really help bring some depth to your models, man, because you put a lot of work into these, right? Like I take a look at the white hair that this lady has here, right, and it looks gorgeous, right? But just just a little wash would really help add some depth to these models, because I take a look at it and I take a look at some of these areas, right, and I can see that you've done some of the work, right? But washes are our best friend, man. Ask anyone in the chat. Uh, are washers magic? Uh, um, like I think we all know that washers are magic, and that is no worries, Calidors too. Yeah, because I saw that and I just felt, oh man, I can just see myself in that position. Alright, so next up we've got Bothy, and taking a look at these, right? Speaking of transfers, ladies and gentlemen, and using them properly. Yes, washers always get me get me a card at Christmas. Right you are, Lorna. Calidor's 2 washers are super. Listen to them, my man. Listen to them, brain fella. Listen to them. Alright, Bothy. So, as I've been saying before, transferring is a skill, and this shows it, ladies and gentlemen, right? So first off, these are 100% centered, right? These might actually be printed, not transfers. Yeah, I'd say that there's most probably a stronger chance that they're printed, but take a look at that, ladies and gentlemen. It is utterly gorgeous. Now, I know that there are painted models here, right? But white, and especially on this scale, is incredibly difficult to do. I do really like the little hints of red here and there, right? And I do think that the grass is working against you, man. Um, like I think that I really do like these patches of flowers. I think that they look utterly gorgeous, but I do not know what company's grass you're using. But I don't think that it's helping your cause. I think that it's really, really working against you. Like, I'll tell you how much I think it's working against you. This is coming from the base guy. I think it might even be worth cutting these guys off this and rebasing. Like, because I think that you put a tremendous amount of work into your models, and I think that this grass is really detracting from them. Just put down a base of gravel and don't have it 100% grass, and then maybe this grass will work for you. But this grass at the moment, I don't think is working for you. Beautiful stuff with the flowers, beautiful stuff with the tufts of grass, but I don't think that the actual grass is working for you. So I really love all of these little details that he's added, especially on the scale. On the scale, what is this? Is this 10 millimeter, ladies and gentlemen, or is it 5 millimeter? It's most probably something ridiculous. Take a look at it. And Lornor just says when he has 2,500 men to do, he says, God, I hope those models are representative and there's not 500 more bases off shot. Yeah, just, oh my good Lord. Because taking a look, right, you put a tremendous amount of work into these, right? Like, the fact that you've got some depth of color within the skins, and taking a look at this, I've got to think that these guys are like somewhere between 6 millimeter and 10. I don't know, but like the fact that you've got depth within that skin, you really want to change that grass up. Because the only reason I'm saying this, man, is we can see the level of work that you put into these paint jobs, right? Tremendous. Absolutely phenomenal, right? I always talk about considering scale, right? But that right there, considering the scale, is phenomenal, is absolutely phenomenal. Taking a look at that, right? Just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful, my man. So yeah, and that's the reason why I'm having a go at this grass, because you put in a phenomenal amount of work, and I want people to focus on that work, not on a sea of green. Because I think, like when I take a look at these guys, I think these are the kinds of guys who get lost first. These with their beautiful, beautiful banners, people are still going to look at all of your regimental guys here, right, all lined up. But these guys will be lost. And you put in so much work, man. Just please trust. Alright, but yeah, so I want to say, just with this, I just honestly can't believe the level of detail that he's got in, considering the scale. So, well done, Buffy. Yeah, so Lorna says they are beautiful models, but with the colour from those flowers, all I see is the cover to the Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Heart Club. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no, that's in my mind! It will not leave! No! Whew. But yeah, so absolutely beautiful, beautiful work, man. I really love the level of detail that you've gone into on these guys. And obviously, guys, I'm not commenting on, color contrast or that sort of thing, because these are historicals, ladies and gentlemen, which means that he doesn't have a whole lot of choice in the colors that he's painting on those. Alright, next up, we've got clan, because undoubtedly if people want to remix sounds, I cannot say that name, especially with me saying beautiful work all the time. So, just really, really interesting pieces here, right? So what I particularly like about Guild Ball is, the theming behind it. Um, like, taking a look at these guys, right? They're just so, so thematic. Like, we've got all of this dull black iron, right? And that's their heraldry, right? The anvil. So the whole idea is that this is the anvil team, I'm guessing, or like they'll most probably have some um, other way of saying that, right? But I'm sure that that is pretty much the idea behind them. Um, so he says they're currently 90% done up. So I think he's looking for a bit of feedback. So this guy over here, I would not touch. I like that dull glow, right? And though he might just be a sort of cold iron giant sort of thing there, Blacksmith Guild even. Um, the the thing is, I think that that looks great. I do, however, think that with all of their skin, you could really bring it up a lot. It's all very pale, and it's all very sort of fades into all of these cold iron things, and you don't want that. You want this very strong contrast between the skin and between all of this cold iron, because it's fine for the cold iron to be quite dominant on these pieces, right? Because that's the theme of these guys. But I just feel when I take a look at some of these guys, right, that you could really help improve them by just doing up the color. I get what you're going for with this guy, he's soot covered, that sort of thing, right? But honestly, I just think by brightening him up, by brightening the rest of their skin up, that would just make them pop, just right out, right? And taking a look at that, that is really what you want from these. So, despite me being the grumpy base master that I am, I actually don't mind these bases for these guys in particular, because I think it suits their theme. I like the way that you've done up the leather, this very sort of worn uh, leather. And the iron is just beautiful the way you've done it up. But the skin is the only thing that I really think that you need to do. Just have it pop, and the whole models will work with you. All right, let us move on. Oh, so I'm just going to sit on these for a second, because they are just utterly gorgeous while I have a quick drink. Oh my good lord, ladies and gentlemen. Ah, it is just utterly beautiful. This, ladies and gentlemen, is what I love about some of the terrain projects, right? Now, of course, this is on a different scale than I'm used to, right? But, ladies and gentlemen, I love the way that he's integrated these different kinds of blocks to give the feeling of different types of terrain. Now, the way that you've got this wild, sporadic grass, right, and then these vines crawling up, and the mosses growing on here, and I do believe that that's just a standard grass block, but that's more the railway grass block, rather than, you know, miniature flock. So just little things like that, right? That really, really brings this together. And just the way that there's not um, pure colors within this. I think we know. I think we know the scale just judging by looking at it, Lorna. So I do like the trees and everything here, right? But it's pieces like this, and it's in particular this right here that are just utterly gorgeous. I just absolutely love them. Like the way that that's broken and fallen down. Oh, it is just beautiful the way that you've done it up, man. It is utterly gorgeous. And like there's not really much more that I could say. I mean, maybe giving them a different base with a more solid edge. Like the edge is the only thing that I could say that needs a bit of cleanup, but I really, really like these. I think that they look just beautiful, man. Alright, next up, we've got Panzer Kaputt and his Gangs of Rome stuff. And seeing the way that he's changed the skin, take a look at it, ladies and gentlemen. How much better does it look? Like, the eyes, I think that the sculpts are not great for these eyes, but look at those eyes, ladies and gentlemen. I do believe that these are just painted in eyes. He's not actually working with anything there, right? Look at the way that that skin looks now and how it's got, you know, that, it's just beautiful. You know, these strong fades, the way that the line goes in. It is gorgeous, ladies and gentlemen. And so you can still keep some of that edging in there, right? Like on the shoulder, right? Absolutely beautiful, right? Just absolutely beautiful. I just really love the way that just that one thing has brought, you know, these models up just 1,000%. Like, cause he already did really, really strong cloth work. He really did good metal work, and just those little changes, like take a look at the cloth work, right? It's beautiful, right? And now that the skin is different from the cloth work, right? It's brought it up so much, just a tremendous amount. I absolutely love it, right? Like take a look at those horizontal lines there. Just beautiful. And the way that they shift along with the model itself, gorgeous. And that right there, look at that, beautiful. Um, but yeah, so, alright, so of course, all of that out of the way, it's time to pick on him again. So we've got to find something else that we can improve. Um, let's let's take a look. Let's do a deep dive. But obviously, I'm just going to be nitpicking something. But Panzer Kaput says, thanks there, man. I do know what you mean. Yeah, because you did have beautiful clothwork. You do have beautiful clothwork right here. But it was just the skin that I think detracted from that work. I think maybe putting some grains within the bow. I know that the bow that you're working with is not really that great. It's not exactly top tier bow material right there, but just putting in wood grain, I think that would help. Still got this beautiful basing. That is how you do city basing, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I'd say that's about it, because yeah, I really think that as soon as that one fix came in, it's just they just came in so much better. And I see that you've also worked on the building in the back, Panzer Kaput. Have you finished all your buildings? If you have, man, just throw them on the thread. People love that. All right. Oh, so you double post. I think I do remember seeing this one first, thumbsing it up, and then I scrolled up because I go from the first one, and then I went, wait a minute. Alright, so next up we've got Taurus, and he's got some orc/goblins painted up. Now I do believe these are 6mm, so once again, ladies and gentlemen, always consider scale when painting, right? So this is ridiculous, considering the scale, and also considering that poor Taurus lost his brush at some point in time. But yeah, his best brush broke on him. Oh, that would not make me happy at all. Oh no, Panzer kaput. Apparently he triple posted. So you managed to get one of them. You managed to get one of them down. Um, Alright, so I really like the way that he's done up the basing. The basing looks really gorgeous. So we see a bit of textural difference between those. And doing it on this scale is a skill in of itself, because remember, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of the flocks that you would normally use, a lot of the materials that you would normally use are no longer viable at that scale. So doing up nice basing at this scale is a skill in of itself. I do really think the red goes quite nicely against the green. Taking a look at these guys, I think that they've come up all right, but I'd most probably want to see if I could like water down a wash and hit them up with it. So I think that some of it's come out really well, but I think some of it, like the color starkness, is a bit too much. When I take a particular look at like this red coat, I do think that like the red shields have come up beautifully, but just little things like that. And yeah, I do think that it's an absolute nightmare to paint on that scale. Oh, but other than just dulling down this shirt over there, and I think that's about it, eh? Like, I do think that the clubs could use a wash, to add some depth to them, because he's really brought them up in some areas. But so that would bring those highlights down a little bit, but would add depth to them. But once again, I think Taurus may know better than me, because when it comes to sculpts on this scale, it is a different kettle of fish. Alright, so next up, we've got Warworks DK. Okay. We all know that names is the way that I go. I'm always 100% on names. Ching, cheap smile. Hope that no one pays attention to any other podcast that I've ever done. Because I don't stuff up names at all. Alright. So, he says that he's been stuck in a hole. Not being able to paint for a while. So he's just trying to get back into painting. And I tell you what, for getting back into painting, man, I think that you've done really, really well. And the other thing is, I think that you've done up some, I really like the way that you present this photo here, right? The fact that you've got a neutral background, the fact that you've got these, other profiles here within the same picture, it's really nice, man. The thing is, you could come a really long way if you just keep grabbing the brush consistently, because this is pretty darn good in of itself. So there's a couple of things. First off, I love the color contrast. The red, and particularly dull maroon red against the green. Beautiful, just beautiful, right? Absolutely gorgeous. The next thing I would say is the way that he's done up these pinprick eyes. That that is really, really nice. I think that the way that the woods come through that grain, very, very nice. I absolutely love this basing. Absolutely love it. Right? Then there's um there's a few other things, right? The way that he's done up these toenails, beautiful. Just beautiful, right? There is a lot to like about this man. So, like, I think that you have done really, really well. There are, of course, things that you could improve. Like, for example, I think you might need to work on model prep because that line right there is pretty obvious on the axe. You know, I don't see any other obvious lines, but just that one bit right there is just painfully obvious when you take a look at it. Um, I really do like the coppery look of the metal, but I think considering the sort of battle damaged look it's meant to have, I think maybe some wear and tear within the red would look good. And yeah, that's pretty much it. But 100% spot on with the basing. That's how you get me on side. Those bases, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So next up, we've got Tony Sylvie, and he is doing some more of his wacky races painted cars, and just I really, really love the outlandish nature of these things that he does up, right? So you know the purple against these yellow teeth stripes here, right? Beautiful, just beautiful. But really, ladies and gentlemen, we all know what does it for me, right? Take a look at these bases. Oh, good Lord, ladies and gentlemen, good Lord. These bases are just gorgeous. So, another thing that I particularly like about what he does is the way that he gets the dust marks on here. The that really adds a level of character to these models and makes them feel real. Despite their fantastical nature, it gives them a feeling of verisimilitude. Just little things like that. Now, I'm not as impressed by the racer himself. I think that he could use a little work. His dog, however, is absolutely fantastic because everyone needs a doggo. Um, so I do think that it is mostly him fighting the sculpt, though. I do like the way that he's tried to do up the skin, but I do think that the skin could be done up a bit more. But this, it's like stuff like this, ladies and gentlemen. Take a look at the way that those come on, use your words, and that blend of colors comes through. Just absolutely beautiful. And I don't know whether he masked or what he did with this, but that's come together just gorgeous. Utterly gorgeous, right? You know, we've got this blend of yellow into the, I think it might even be hand painted. You know, just taking a look here, that might be the case. But, you know, going into the red, like, that, that is utterly brilliant. Right? And take a look at these bases once again, ladies and gentlemen. Just utterly gorgeous. But yeah, see, I think that he's really fighting the sculpts. So, like for example, this guy and his 2-inch thick eyebrows. I don't think helps a lot. I think that he's done up the leather relatively well, but I think that he could do a bit more layering on that. I do definitely think that it is the characters on the cars that is the thing that he's not putting as much work into, but that might be by design. and finally we get some works in progress from him. Good morning, Oriskany. And yes, we have all had a late Saturday now and then. So hopefully we will be reaching the finale soon enough. Alright, only 1 day and 14 hours to go. So here we go. Apparently Lornor's gotten a bit lazy, which is lies, complete lies. Take a look at this. This is laziness, ladies and gentlemen. If that's laziness, I'm a monkey's uncle. So yeah, just taking a look at that. But yeah, the sculpts aren't exactly good. You're right, Lornor. So it's a lot of hard work working on these some of the times, but it's a very interesting color scheme that you're going for currently. So hopefully we will see some more work on them. But I think that the bone carapace is really coming up nicely on this guy and this guy over here. But I think on these creatures, they're not coming up as great. But like I said, I don't think that's 100% you. I think that that's more the sculpts. Hello, laughing boy. And yes, I hope that everyone is well as well. Alright, next up, we've got David. And yes, it is indeed happening, David. Every single WAYPN I've been putting up has been getting negative feedback. I do know who it is, but that is neither here nor there. It is just a little frustrating when every single video that you put up gets downvoted. Every single one. The hate subscriber. And I don't mind it so much, but considering our community is not massive, it's very frustrating. And it does get on the nerves a little. Alright, so he's put some more works of progress in on the knights. And they are starting to look utterly gorgeous. But hopefully, ladies and gentlemen, he will stick some more stuff on these bases soon enough. Unless he wants me to lose my mind. But we all know that that's David's skull, so you know, soon enough. Soon enough. But taking a look at these, ladies and gentlemen, oh my good lord. Oh my good lord. These are just base colors, ladies and gentlemen. They are going to be utterly gorgeous when they are finished up. Alright. Thank you, Mad Golem. Haters don't hate you. The reality is that they fear that they will never be able to get to where you are right now. Thank you very much. It is a very complimentary post, Mad Golem, and I hope that you have been enjoying the feedback. Same to you, same to you, Jamming Jimmy. And how else would you learn about the 3 elements of basing miniatures? I don't know. I think that you could just go through the back catalogs, my man. I think that you could just go through the back catalogs. I've mentioned it once or twice. I'm sure that you could pick a random WAYPN thing, and you know, maybe there's a chance you could get it from there. All right. So we have Doug Nifferg, and he does apologize for the quality of the photos because they're just slightly off, but that's all right, my man. Do not worry. So of course, I really like his crazy eclectic basing of the Chaos guys, right? The industrial stripings, mwah, beautiful, just beautiful, mate. So that, utterly gorgeous. We've got this fantastic eye here, right? And the reason why I really like this eye is because this eye right here is blind, and just those small levels of contrast really add to the model. I also think that he's done a quick bit of sculpting here so that like the face area is covered of the Terminator, so that he's sort of encased within the armor, and the armor is a living thing. And I really like that thematically. I think that that really changes the feel of these guys. And, just the small differences. But take a look at the way that he's done up this sword. Just beautiful. Like, it's almost as if this sword is a living thing, the way that it sort of bleeds oil, and it has a sort of off-putting vibe to it, right? Just little things like that help bring these things to life. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, take a look at that industrial striking there. Just, mwah, oh, beautiful. I am, okay, Martin, I'm fine too, and assembling more room. Oh, yes, okay. I was like, what? You, huh? And I realized that he's responding. It's alright. I get it. I understand words. Alright. And here we've got the next guy. And once again, I think that white is definitely your weak point, man. I think this is where you need to focus on improving. I think maybe rather than trying for white, paint it as if it's bone. Like go Xandri dust and build up from there. Like Xandri dust, do a wash on the Xandri dust, or even Talon sand, do a wash on the Talon sand and bring it up through the bone. And I think that that would look so much better for you. I think that, you're really struggling with the white at the moment. And the reason why I bring this one up, right, is because I think that you're putting a lot of work into these, right? I absolutely love the chaotic and hectic bases, right? I love the organic feel of your Marines, like the way that blood oozes from, these things, the wounds on their weapons. I think all of that is looking really, really good. Um, and I think that that's the only thing that's really, working against you with these guys. I think that everything else is going really well. Um, of course, it's a very, very different look to the Marines, and I really do like the feel of it compared to, your standard Space Marines. It makes them feel very chaotic, but I think that the white is definitely working against you. This right here, like despite its crazy exaggeratedness, I think that that looks phenomenal, right? I think that that is a great way of, you know, just diving into the over-the-topness of the 40k genre. But, ladies and gentlemen, take a look at this. A lot of effort has gone into that eye, and I think that it has come up just beautifully. Absolutely gorgeous, right? Just absolutely phenomenal. And this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about blending in those transfers, right? You know, it looks as if these are painted on, not as if those are transfers in this, despite the very glossy nature of here. It's because all of this feels glossy, all of this feels, sickly and slime covered, right? But I tell you what, the way that you do up swords, man, they are phenomenal. They are most probably some of my favorite Chaos Swords that I've ever seen. And these shoulder pads, I love them. I absolutely love them. I do think that there's a couple of things that could need work, but these things, man, these feel like chaos. They don't feel like they're Space Marines, but bad. They feel like chaos incarnate. They feel like bubbling, viscous plague Marines. And yeah, I think you've done a phenomenal job on them. All right, next up we've got Bucket Night, and he's been painting some miniatures with his lady friend. And I tell you what, if this is her first time painting, that's pretty good, man. You know, I think these are like just base colors on, my man, but I think basically just with a little work, these could really pop by just putting some wash on them and just a couple of other things. But I tell you what, man, for you know, a first time, absolutely, absolutely phenomenal. The the yeah, I think that that would really really come up nicely, hopefully, with just a little bit of work. All right, so next up, um, so it's not so much the videos lawn or I do often enjoy them, and I do yes, David, what are you doing with the basing? Ah, David, why you doeth this to me with the basing? Ah, you driveth me mad, absolutely mental. I will go insane. No. It's not so much the videos, it's the feedback, and it's very frustrating some of the times with these forums. Um, yeah, that's mainly the thing. That is mainly the thing. The feedback, my man. All right, so yes, Mart. Sorry, yes, Larson Boyd. I have hardly ever talked about basing. So I think that these guys are coming up really excellent. Yes, soon I will drive him mad, and then that way he will have to come to England. Yes, merry old England. That is how it works in my mind. Yes, David. But yeah, the thing is, I think that you're very much fighting the sculpts with these ones. And there's not much that I can say about that. I think that you're doing your level best with it. These guys have actually come up a lot better since that post before. I do think this mark right here, and I think there's a mark over there on that one, detract from it a lot, but I do think that they have come up a phenomenal amount the way that you've done up the muscles on those. I'm not sure what more you're gonna do on these guys, but I think that is definitely going to be the hardest thing. You're just going to be fighting the models the whole time, and to me that doesn't sound like a lot of fun. Um, but I do think that you've put in a phenomenal amount of work to really help these things come up. Alright, so next we have Suetonius Paulinius, and yet another dull WW2 miniature. Yes, yes, it is true. But he does do some beautiful basing and some gorgeous transfer work. Take a look at the way that is blended in, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, it looks painted on. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, doing transfers is a skill. It's a skill, ladies and gentlemen. All right. The thing is, I think when it comes to a lot of these times, yes, I do give Andy a bit of a hard time about the historicals, but the reason I do is just because there's a lot of uniform color. Um, and when it comes to that, right, it's hard to make the model exciting. But I do really think he does his best to bring the models to life. The way that he adds little extra bits, like I don't know if that canteen's on that guy's head. I know that some of the times he adds that to model, some of the times they're modeled on. The way that he does really bright skin. Um, I love the way that he does, just these quick lines of, different colors within the rifle to give the idea of wood grain. Um, yeah, I guess it's jokes like that that gets me the downvote. I'm sorry, I'll watch myself. Please, sir, not again, not again. But it's just little things like that that really help bring these models to life. But I do like this base and the way that he's sort of helped breathe it to life. So we've got this brick here in amongst all of this. It would just seem like soil, but just with that brick there, now it becomes rubble. Just little things like that that really help breathe these models to life. But yeah, I want to say absolutely beautiful work, my man, and hopefully we will see some more from you. And here we are with some more from Andy. Who would have thought? So this time we have a Gaelic warrior of the panted variety, and once again another beautiful, beautiful shield. Now this, ladies and gentlemen, is what I am talking about. Like taking a look at the way that they're integrated. See the way that he's got these scratch marks in them. Integration. That's it, man. That's how you have to do the things, right? And I think that Andy could do a whole freaking article on just how to integrate transfers. And I think he would have just a captive audience taking notes. I really do. But yeah, just absolutely beautiful work there. The the other thing is, I think that the skin's very bold. I like the suggestion of patterns within this cloak. But yeah, I think it looks good. Alright, next up, we have... Oh no, Warhound owner. Alright, that is... a lot of pictures. Not in thread, my man! Ah! So close to the end. Alright, Warhound. It may be some time, but just put them up in there. Just insert all of these into the thread, and you will get way more love, my man. I promise you that. Alright, so next up we have Davith! And Davith blocking in some of the colors. The gold is really coming up, but not as much as this blue steel. Now, of course, he's going to be doing more work on that, but this is what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen, when I talk about working on things in stages. And this is why it's important to see works in progress, because you get an idea of how people work through things, about people, how they do things. And just a quick comment on the work by Suetonius Polynius by Laughing Boy, and he says, I would love to see a collection of shots of those historical miniatures, both the modern and the more WW2 centric historicals. But yeah, they are really, really coming together. Alright, so apparently Davith is just going to stop at tabletop standard. Tut tut, good sir. Tut tut. So he's just stopping shy of greatness, and you know there's nothing to be ashamed of about that, Davith. It's all right. We don't all want to be the best. Oh yeah, never gonna be one of the rest. Yet more downvote material. Hey Nicholas, and there so there is a lot to like about some of these models. So of course he's got the uniform purple matching them all, right? Hey, that's cool, Nicholas. Nicholas is painting while watching. Nice to hear, Nick. Um, the thing is, when you're going for uniform models, right? Like those who are literally wearing a uniform, like Bub, or those like these ones, right? You've really got to make the differences shine. So, like this gold uh, hair brace. I don't ponytail thingeruppera. I don't know how you would say that. But yeah, the thing is with that, I think taking a look at that looks really nice. But I really think that you could bring this hair up a whole lot. Like you've obviously dulled it down, and like it's given it this nice depth. But I really think that you could brighten it up quite a considerable amount, and like that would really help the miniature pop. Um, Hair armor, of course, Lorna. That makes sense. That makes as much sense as anything else in fantasy. Um, Next up, we've got some sort of eel thing that this man is wearing. So the contrast is really, really what does it for this model, right? I do think that this skin needs to be done up quite a bit because, unfortunately, because of the tone of the skin, it matches the color of the uniform a little too closely. And unless there's some in-game reason I'm not aware of, it just makes him look off. And yeah, so Davis says, I was thinking of some Fire Dragon Orange would help the hair. Yeah, yeah. Like, we can see some highlights within here, but I think really what's missing from this is some red. Like, we've got a lot of purple within that skin. Some warmth is needed within this skin. But yeah, I think the whites come up pretty good. And of course, the pants are quite nice. But yeah, definitely the skin. But this guy right here, I've seen a lot of people do this guy up, and I've always been impressed by the way that people have done up the white on this guy. There must be a guide out there or something, because taking a look at this white, oh, it is gorgeous. It is just so beautiful. I love the way that it's come together. Like, that is not what I would call tabletop standard, taking a look at that white. It is really beautiful, guys. I do like the skin as well, but I mean, really, it's the white that's impressive on this model. I also like the way that he's done up the metal on the wrench. Yeah, I'd say that's about it. Then taking a look at Moaning Squid Lady, that is her official name now, Moaning Squid Lady. Okay, so apparently this guy is meant to be an evil SOB. So off is about right. Another run of pallid witch flesh should help. Yeah, it's just it's too cold at the moment. Like at the moment, it looks too close to necrotic flesh. It looks too close to dead flesh. Um, all right, so unfortunately, there's not a whole lot I can say about this person because obviously the face is where you usually focus in, but her face is weird. Um, and yeah, it sort of throws you. It sort of throws you for six. I think he's done well with the leather straps and such. But yeah, there's not a whole lot that I can say about her. I think a lot of the blocking and all of that, we've got some good color contrast, all of that sort of thing. But yeah, that sort of throws you for a six. Okay, then we've got this guy right here, and what? Oh, it might be a gal. This gal right here. I do not know. But this right here, this very dark skin, I like either I would brown it up considerably or I would lighten it up considerably. Because as it stands, okay, so apparently this is meant to be a skull. I honestly don't know what's going on with that one. Because I think it fades into the background of these colors here, right? Whereas it should really have a strong contrast against everything else there. Alright, and then finally we have this lady, and once again, I think it's the skin. I would really hit like a semi-gloss wash over the hair, but it's the skin. The skin is just, it's not bright enough, it's just not popping. And you really want the skin to contrast quite sharply against the cloth colors. Alright, there's still more! So many! As for this lady here, I'd say most probably because of her sort of assassin-like tendencies, I'd most probably hit this blade with a wash and dull it down quite a bit because it being super bright seems counterintuitive to the whole assassinish business. Alright. Alright. Yes, well, it's not against the weekly WAYPN man, it is against myself, Calidorus 2. It's very frustrating to see that on every single one of my videos. Someone comes on and thumbs it down. It's very frustrating, and it's a bit disheartening. It's like I know that you guys come on and you love it and that sort of thing, but when you go back and you're like, all right, I've got to edit this and I've got to put it up so that people can see it. You know, I've got to switch around all the doobly-doo stuff for the background information of the YouTubes, and then you just see that and it's just one downvote, and you're like, thanks, dude. Thanks. I like life. Lessa. Alright, so let us move on from my slight melodrama. I'm going to have a quick swig and then we will get to it. Alright, so he's finished off the giant here, and of course the first thing that I've got to point out is, where is the base? The base, my man, it's empty. There is no base. Oh, good Lord. The world is ended. No, the first thing that we've got to point out is this skin, ladies and gentlemen. Take a look at it. It is utterly gorgeous. Soft edging, you know, nice transitions. Oh, some shade. The depth in this is utterly beautiful. Just utterly gorgeous, ladies and gentlemen. Just utterly gorgeous. I think it's not as great on the back as it is on the front. I think that's most probably because of these sections right here. I I think that it might be due to the sculpt slightly, because that is not how a back looks, my man. That is, have you seen a back? And yeah, like I said, I don't think that has to do with your painting. I think it's more to do with the sculpt itself. I do think that the fur here could use a bit of work, but speaking of clothing, take a look at the cloth work with the pants. Oh my good lord. And this bit right here, that one bit of highlight just sold me on the whole thing. I was just like, oh, gorgeous. And I just thought, it is really well done, the way that you've given it depth and the way that you've brought it right back up. It does seem very exaggerated, but that's the kind of feel that I get from this game. That you're really just sort of going, way over the top, with this game. That you don't sort of it's 40K-esque in nature, like obviously not sci-fi or fantasy, but larger than life is the goal. Um, but yeah, I like the little details that you've done and all of that sort of thing. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to pop back up to a beautiful picture, and then after that, I am going to do a quick bit of reading, and I'm going to be right back with you guys for that commentary. I think it might actually be after that. Do we know where Brushstrokes put his thing? I don't know where people put their things. Don't put your thing in my thing. That's a wrong. Don't do it. But yes, Lorna, you are right. The back is a little over sculpted. Alright, let me see if I can find some music for you people, and then I will be right back. Alright, but yeah, man, this sculpt is utterly gorgeous, isn't it? It is just beautiful. I really, really enjoy it. Alright, so let's see if we can get some tunes. Alright, I will be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Feel free to talk amongst yourselves. And I have returned, ladies and gentlemen. Alright, so just a quick announcement. So, I think I'm going to be taking a break from the website for a little while. And the main reason for this is because there are certain individuals, and when you say something to them, when you challenge them, and this is not just recent things, but these are past things, like for example that individual that I talked to you about before, who has been coming here and coming specifically from Beast of War every single time I put them up here, just to come and dump on stuff. It's very frustrating when, you put stuff up, you put hours of work into it, and you just get that little bit of dumped on. And the thing is, when things like that happens, if it's once, you're like, alright, okay, calm down. You're like, okay, whatever. But it's the fact that these people carry these things over again and again and again and again. And it doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter how well you're doing it, right? And you know that these people are out there and talking with one another because just those little interactions that you get, and you see them come on again and again and again and again. It's not the big things. Everyone can deal with a big thing. We all have terrible things happen in our lives. For some of you who know me a bit more personally, you will know that a very big thing happened in my life relatively recently. And for a lot of you older viewers, you will know of another big thing that happened while I was doing this. But when I'm doing these, I'm putting on a mask because I'm entertaining you guys. I'm trying to, make you guys enjoy your painting experience. But it just becomes a little bit much when you have to deal with these things repeatedly. Now, I had a conversation with somebody else, and well, we thought maybe we could just, do it so that what we do is I just ask for thumbs up every single time and ask for subs and all the standard YouTuber stuff. But that's not me, but maybe it's the formula I've got to fall into to sort of avoid my own traps of, narcissistic self-hatred. But yeah, it's just these people, and they can't see outside of themselves, and it's so frustrating. But yeah, and that's pretty much it, guys. It's just the repeated stuff, and then the one person who, yeah, it's very frustrating. Laughing Voice says, don't let assholes get you down, dude. I think that you're doing this and the feedback is awesome. For one, the one person that puts you down, there are many more that appreciate it. Yeah, I do know that, dude. I do, but it's human nature to focus on the negative. And like I said, if it's a one-off thing, I just go, but I thought they liked me. And you just sort of do that and then move on. But it's the repeated nature of it. It's the monotony of it. And that this person is taking time out of their life just to do this to you. And of course you can just think, what are you doing with your life? Which of course I do think. But it's also very frustrating. So I'm going to be taking a break for a little while, and the that's pretty much it. I don't think I'm gonna come back to this, just because it is a lot of work, and it is actually 12:30 midnight here. But I try and do that to have the right time for all of you guys. Trying to find the right time for you guys is is really one of the hardest times. Is really one of the hardest things for this. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. I hope you guys get some stuff smashed out, and I might be lurking in the background, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to be off the website for a little while. But in the meantime, guys, you guys keep those brushes wet, and you keep chatting amongst yourselves. Alright, guys, have a good one.